Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome to part 16 of the GTO Trainer. Today we've got all pre-flop action except for opening. Mostly because I feel really confident about what hands to open, what hands to fold. So we're not going to do that one. So I've got all the ones aside from opening selected. 9-hand configuration. I just found that doing the singular ones, such as like versus a 4-bet, versus a 5-bet, didn't really enjoy them too much just because they were a little bit too doing the same thing over and over again, whereas this one kind of replicates a little bit more of like a poker session where you can be put in different situations throughout all 10 of the hands. So first hand here, we open on the button with Ace King offsuit. Small blind folds. Big blind 3 bets here. So big blind going to be 3-betting with a decently tight range, not as tight as normal, just because they're versus a button open, button being the widest range opening pre-flop. So big blind is going to be 3-betting a little bit wider than normal. But Ace King off, it's a standard 4-bet here. Then we're faced with an all-in versus the big blind. I believe this will be a call. The thought process behind that is, if we have a look here, so we go to strategy. If we have a look here, Ace King off. So yeah, going to be a standard call. If we look up against the big blind's range, it's a little bit wider than we could see potentially if the big blind was playing versus a under the gun open or an under the gun +1 open. So a little bit of a tighter opening range. We could potentially see Ace King off being a little bit. Well, we could potentially see the big blind's range being a little bit tighter, but because they're 3-betting / 4-betting versus a button range, which the button's going to be wider pre-flop, it means that the big blind's 3-bet, 5-bet is going to be wider as well to reflect that. Moving on to the next hand, so hijack opens. We have King Jack in the small blind. I don't think King Jack's good enough to 4-bet this. But calling would also just let the big blind in behind. So I'm kind of leaning towards a fold here. Reckon King Jack might get into a lot of out-kicked situations. And also we are playing, best case scenario, we're playing heads up out of position. Worst case scenario, the big blind comes along and we go 3 ways with 2 plays in position to us. So especially if we were in the big blind, for example, this would probably be an easy call. But because we're in the small blind, I'm going to elect to fold because we've got the big blind behind. We don't know what he's going to do, and that heavily affects our decision here. So yeah, folding is the right decision if we have a look here. From the small blind, a very tight range. We got some bluffs in here as well, but yeah, so our like out-kicked hands, for example, that can get us into a lot of trouble, a lot of playing big pots out of position, so that's probably why we don't elect to raise too wide. So we don't want to be raising too wide because we want to avoid playing big pots heads up out of position or big pots out of position full stop. Playing more defense when out of position, playing more offense when we're in position. So that's why we elect to fold these kind of good but can get us into a lot of danger hands. Could get us into situations where we're overplaying the hand, for example, overvaluing a top pair, that type of thing. Moving on to the next hand here, we open under the gun +2. Low jack 3 bets, folds back around to us. We got pocket 3s. I believe this is a call. We looked at this in the last episode, I believe, and a couple episodes before that as well. The reason why we call these low pocket pairs is purely for a set mine, I believe. And the reason being that we utilize... Not only could we potentially be 50-50 pre-flop, but we also utilize the implied odds of hitting our set and winning a really big pot to make up for any equity deficiencies as well. Like for example, if we hit a 3, they've got an overpair. We're most likely going to be able to get all the money in, and that's going to make up for the original equity disparity pre-flop. So Queen 10-9 board, so three are all overcards to our pocket 3s. LoJack has a range advantage here, being the pre-flop aggressor, being that we called. But that does mean that we can still have some 9s, 10s, and queens here, probably not queens. So we're going to check and flow. LoJack checks back. Queen turn doesn't bring any draws in, for example. When they don't c-bet the flop, you would assume that they have nothing that really protects, so it most likely means they don't have a queen, being scared of a flush draw. They probably haven't hit that flop at all, may not have an overpair either, so queen on the turn, very inconsequential, does potentially mean that they might believe that their ace high is better, could lead to our 3s getting counterfeited here. How I personally play, like these low pocket pairs on boards where all cards are higher than that. No, that's not straight on the board. We're missing a jack. Is I like to kind of play a bluff catching type of line to avoid getting value owned a lot of the times. Once again, I reckon this is just another check. And then they check back. So they're saying on the river that we should. So they're saying. Mostly because we've given them enough rope, and we've kind of gone, okay, we don't think they got a queen, we don't think they've had anything to protect, flush draw comes in, and I guess the idea of that half pot is to kind of target the exact hand that they had, so higher pocket pairs, that are kind of just hoping to get down to showdown, and will fold to any aggression, so I can definitely understand, we've given them some rope, they haven't taken it at all, they haven't taken the betting lead on either the turn or the flop. We don't believe they've hit any of these cards. They're playing a very passive manner, even though the board, they have range advantage. So I can definitely understand, after 2 streets of checking, we can finally go for some, or at least try to bluff off, or maybe even go for some value against non-believing ace highs, maybe. We're probably not getting anything worse for value to call us. Realistically, I don't think pocket 2s is going here, but mostly I'm guessing the idea, especially with this 75% sizing as well, just trying to kind of bluff off the exact hand that they ended up having, hands that just have some showdown value, under pairs that are beating us. So I can definitely agree with that play. If we have a look over here, so yeah, pretty much we get to this position with all of our pocket pairs. They're saying the lower ones we should be raising with, and then the higher ones we should... I'm guessing because these higher ones we have more showdown value, whereas like your 4s, 3s, and 2s, very, very high chance of just being... losing to better showdown value, for example, so your 6s, 7s, 8s. And then we're guessing 9s, just once again, just going for value. Well, I mean, you got a set. 10s, you got a set as well. Jacks, you got a straight. Queens, you got quads. So that's all pretty good stuff right there. So you should always be going for value there, full stop. Even if you're slow playing them. And then you got a couple just ace highs that got their showdown. That kind of no real reason to raise up. They are saying ace 4 here should be raising just a little bit. I'm guessing just to balance out our range, making sure that, our jacks, our queens, ace queen are all getting called here, just to protect our value range here, so to balance that out. Ace high is getting all the way down to showdown. No real reason to raise those up, purely because you're not getting anything worse to call. Is the idea. You shouldn't bet if the opponent has nothing worse to call, because then you're just going to basically value own yourself, or you could potentially give your opponent enough rope to be able to bluff you off the winning hand. Let's say, for example, you have different type of board, but let's say like you have the winning hand like ace high, you take a stab at it, and they might bluff you off with king high, and you might fold the better hand. just because you've kind of you've almost monkey stabbed, essentially. Like you've stabbed into the pot, or donk, whatever the terminology is, and you just allowed them the opportunity, especially when you're playing out of position, you've allowed them the opportunity to then, bluff you off the better hand in a lot of situations. Moving on to the next hand, we have Under the Gun opens. We're Under the Gun +2. We have Jack 2 offsuit. Under the Gun going to be an extremely tight range, and Jack 2 does not play well against that. Low Jack opens. We got 7-3 suited in the small blind. Small blind does love suited hands, especially, but more so suited connectors, suited gappers. So if we're looking at like 7-6, 7-5, those are going to be a standard call. But 7-3, too little connectivity, so that's going to be a snap fold, just not enough equity, and the implied odds also just not there either. Under the Gun +2, decently strong range here. We're in the cutoff of King 7 offsuit, just one of those hands, no equity essentially. Obviously, we can see now that we would be actually 70-30, but essentially no backdoor equity, not suited, and in addition, you're most likely to lose big pots due to being outkicked, overplaying your hand, just one of those real middling hands, and then we also have 3 opponents behind as well. So you just got to be considering, what could they be doing as well, and how could that affect what I've done. Here we are on the button with 8-4 offsuit, facing a low jack open. This is going to be a snap fold. Nothing really to comment on about it. Button does prioritize some, suited connectors, suited gappers, loves those type of hands. But you also do still have the small blind and big blind behind, so you do have to also be considering, what could they be doing in this situation. I would be interested to see. Yeah, so you still have plenty of calls here, even with 2 people behind. It would be, it's not ideal if they come along for the ride, but you are in position to all of them, so that could still give you a little bit of an advantage there. Moving on to the next hand, hijack opens, folds around to us in the big blind with ace queen offsuit. It's going to be a standard 4-bet, or correction, standard 3-bet. They then 4-bet 2x sizing with ace queen hijack, decently tight range, not as tight as Under the Gun, not as loose as your more cutoff or button, but they are still 4-betting a very strong big blind range, because big blind's going to need to have a very tight range here, because we're going to be playing heads up out of position. So I can hear a call, I can hear a fold, I can also hear a raise here as well. Actually, you know what, I take that back. I don't hear the raise. Raise is going to put us into an SBR nightmare where we're going to be stacking off pretty much. So we're kind of almost sacrificing 36 big, so I'm going to take that out. So we've got the all in, we've got the call, we've got the fold. I'm going to take out call, thinking in terms of it's going to be a lot of situations where we're just kind of going to be check folding. All in I can hear, but I'm going to, I think fold's probably way too nitty. If they were suited, definite all in probably. A lot more equity to kind of rely on, but I'm gonna go with a fold here. Always. So right decision there correct. So it was a correct decision to raise. They're saying it should have been a call, so they're saying we should have just flatted. I guess the theory is we know that we're already going to be heads up, but because we're out of position, we want to kind of not overinflate the pot, keep it nice and small, not play big pots heads up out of position, and there's no need to raise to kind of isolate because we've already isolated into a heads up situation. So then when it comes back around to us, so the fold's the right play there. We're only really calling here with aces, ace king, ace kings. So yeah, ace queen suited would have been a call. Some extra equity there with the suited, and then obviously our ace 5 and ace 4 just to balance out that 5-bet range. So yeah, happy with that thought process. I can definitely understand the call, as in just call straight flatting the open, because we already know we're heads up. We don't have to isolate. We don't have to get anyone else out of the pot. And we already know we don't want to be playing big pots heads up out of position, so that makes perfect sense to me. So we open in the cutoff with pocket 10, standard play, button, then 3 bets, folds back around to us. I reckon this is a standard 4 bet. Flop comes 7, 6, 5, stack to pot ratio of less than 2, about 1.5-ish. This board definitely hits the button's flatting range. We're looking at a lot of some suited connectors could be in there. Pocket 7s, 6s, 5s are definitely there as well. Out of position, I can definitely hear a check. Just kind of see what the button's going to do here. They check back. King's going to favor our cutoff range here, so I'm going to go with about a 1/3 sizing. They call, stack to pot ratio less than 1, so we're going to go all in here. They call. Okay, so what's the issue here? So they're saying a 1/10 sizing? Why would we bet 1/10? Okay. Okay. Well, that's interesting. That is interesting. So let's have a look here. So yeah, so happy with pre-flop play. It's the similar situation to the previous one. You don't want to be playing heads up out of position. You're already isolated, or that you need to. However, in my opinion, the difference being here, the hijack's already got a decently condensed and tightened range, whereas the button's gonna have a very wide 3 betting range. So we still want to kind of raise pre-flop to kind of still isolate their top of range, so we can start narrowing down the range, get an idea of what they have. So they flat here. So basically caps off their range. We know they don't have aces, kings, queens, jacks. So we believe our overpair is the best overpair here. This board does hit a lot of their flatting range, being suited connectors, sets, some 2 pairs as well. So they could have easily flopped a straight here. They could have easily flopped a set. They could have easily flopped a 2 pair, 7-6, 6-5. So I elect for a check, which was the wrong move. So I should be c-betting for half pot there. So I'm guessing just kind of a range bet, standard type of stuff. Continue our aggression, tell our story that we've got a really good hand. They then check back. Turn comes a king. That's going to heavily favor our range. So I love the 1/3 sizing here. Start, kind of test, start to really narrow down their range here. Then they call. So we know. So when they've check back on the flop, so they have nothing really to kind of protect. So that's why we wouldn't really think that they would have an overpair here. But I guess an overpair would also kind of maybe not go for... But then again, they kind of have range advantage, so I would have thought that an overpair would kind of go for value here. So I can understand the check, I guess, but also not. So then they call, king comes off. I guess the idea is we're trying to say that, nothing that they're going to call here, we're beating. But then I don't really think anything that they've kind of called down. Let's have a look here. So if we're looking at their range, so they're saying they could still have aces. They're saying they could have ace high, some kings in there still that we're losing to. Some other pocket pairs that we're beating. But I would assume that if we do that like 1/10 sizing, okay, maybe we would get called by like pocket 9s, for example. But then I'm assuming, but we might, but just because we're out of position, I'm assuming it seems a little bit more like a stab. But I guess it's kind of also the only real way that you'll get value from, their bluffs and hands. I also like a check here as well, kind of a check bluff catch. Because I do understand the idea that not a whole lot of our all-in, or well, not a whole lot of their range is going to call our all-in here. I can definitely understand that. There's no real way for us to see their range in this situation, but I can definitely understand like a check, try to charm, what's it called? I'm going to get it. Check bluff catch, give him some rope, keep in, ace high hands that have gone down to here. Keep it, because ace high would probably call on the turn, and especially like an ace queen would probably call on the turn here. Most likely, I'm thinking. Maybe not even. So yeah, maybe a check is a better play here, or like a really low sizing, just trying to get someone going. I'm kind of priced in, so yeah, I can understand that. And yeah, I'm kind of talking myself out of the all-in being the play. My kind of idea was stack to pot ratio is so low, we kind of got to go all in with, and we're fine with stacking off with 10s here. Evidently, that's not the play. So move on to the last hand. Under the gun opens, we got king 8 offsuit, snap fold. Under the gun going to be a very tight, strong range. So yeah, I reckon that's a far better format. I enjoy that one far more. So 10 hands, 18 moves, 90 GTO score. One wrong move being going all in on the river with pocket 10s, rather than try to go for a small sizing, try to keep in hands that we're still beating. So I kind of guess I understand the idea that worse for value probably isn't calling there, and we're probably only getting called by hands that are beating us majority of the time, and then we're just kind of folding out everything that we're beating. So yeah, I can definitely understand that. So I hope you guys learned something today. Have a good one, play well, and take care.